but of literally every person who vaguely looks like you, at that level, you are doing a disservice to entire swaths of people. We've talked about this quite a bit, you know, people about my glasses or whatever, in that, you know, the whole Nicki Minaj, Taylor Swift feud on Twitter, right? Where Nicki Minaj is mad because Taylor Swift's video got nominated and Nicki Minaj's didn't, and she says it's because I'm black, and I say no, it's because you made softcore porn. And that's why your video didn't get nominated. It's gross. And no, you're not, while you might believe you are owning your sexuality in that space, actually what you're doing is continuing to perpetuate an environment in which women of color are repeatedly, violently, viciously sexualized, participating in your own degradation, but also participating in the degradation of thousands of millions of black women who look like you. So no, I flatly reject the concept of publicly owning my sexuality and then turning around to sell it. I reject it.
And do you think, okay, so I think Nicki Minaj is like definitely a very extreme example because I agree. Do you think there is like any power in, you know, understanding that, you know, you are a product at that point when you reach that level of fame, but then being able to like kind of use that fame and that as a way to empower people?
Well, sure.
So I guess like that's kind of the fine line like I was referring to is like, yeah, of course, like there is a line where it is like absolutely not doing anyone any good. You are like perpetuating all of those extremely negative and harmful and abusive, you know, ideas, but then, you know, but then that's kind of then policing women's bodies as they have always been. So I think that's why it is like a really nuanced, like I don't think there's one clear answer.
I don't necessarily see it as policing women's bodies so much as, and this isn't just about sexuality, this is my feeling about anything, which is freedom and freedom from consequence are two completely different things. And that, on the one hand, you are free to dress however you want, to say whatever you want, to do whatever you want, and that's perfectly fine. That gives you absolutely no shield from other people criticizing that, from other people saying it's a bad choice, from other people saying, I wouldn't want my child to do that, I wouldn't want my sister, my daughter, my wife to do that, myself to do that. I think on the one hand, yes, you have all of that opportunity and that's perfectly great, but I also reject this term of policing women's bodies in this particular context. In this particular context, you absolve yourself of the right to be mad that people have criticized you when you have put yourself out for sale.
We got a question over here.
I think with pop stars, it begs the question of agency as well. How much of this sexualization is actually coming from them, and how much of it is the PR and marketing?
Managers, publicists, and so on, right?
I think when the means of production of big labels are controlled as the way they are, is that really empowering or is it not? I think generally it's not.
And two, even when you have a female director, which the director for the Blurred Lines music video was a woman, and she,
a woman of color, as a matter of fact.
I didn't know that, but that's also interesting. But she gave specific directions to the models to don't smile, look directly into the camera, like we're gonna show these guys up by like saying, I know you're watching me. And it was an interesting concept, but it didn't translate. At the end of the day, those women were still highly sexualized and treated like objects in the video, where the joke was that they were being treated like objects. So once it goes out into the public sphere, you don't get to control how your image is used. How your image is used by the men in the music video and by the people, the millions of people that watched it. So it's, I guess my question is, can you win? Can we win? That's all I want to know. Like, is there any way that women can win? Like, if we're not sexual, or we completely reject our sexuality and reject all products that try and shape our sexuality, that means that we're guess, giving up our sexuality as a locus of power? Or do we completely give in and say, oh, I own it, but then do you really own it when you're being basically turned into a product? Like, what's the solution?
You talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
You talk about the problematic entities and the way that these concepts are viewed. You really need to break down the way that people perceive these ideologies that they've been indoctrinated towards, and saying you cannot make sexuality in itself some kind of product to be sold, whereas my power from my sexual embracement, or asexuality in itself, and I don't want to be a sexual being but rather a relationship kind of being, it's something that needs to be discussed. And right now the crux of the problem, the entirety of it, is that the same cycles are being continued and perpetuated, the same ideologies telling you about your place in the world, the gender roles that you need to embrace, the amount of sexiness that you are allowed. These things have to be talked about and embraced mentally by large quantities. So it's a very difficult battle in itself to go and try and change the entire way we think about society and ourselves. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. Conversation and knowledge is your best weapon.
But when you're talking about society writ large, there is a limit. I mean, there just is. There is a limit to the amount of sexuality you are publicly allowed. Just as there is a limit to the amount of public profanity you're allowed. There's a limit to the amount of public drunkenness you're allowed. I mean, whatever social mores we have, they are by their very nature limitations. And a society without those is anarchy. Since the beginning of civilization is not a positively defined entity. Civilization's a negatively defined entity. Civilizations don't tell you what you can do, they tell you what you can't do. And that's how order is maintained. So, yeah, I mean, I do sort of see where perhaps there's room to push back the borders some and to sort of renegotiate where those boundaries are. But I think at any level, maintaining any sort of glimmer of hope that the doors are going to just be thrown open for people to do whatever they want to is painfully naive. That's not the way societies function.
So part of our class is talking about consumption specifically. Do you feel like there's a group that has it better off here? And I think we've talked about that a little bit. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit? Like, why do you feel like that it is that way? Or because I would say it exists. I'm not going to steal the answer from you guys, but kind of discuss that, because I think there is a level of consumption here where there is a limit to how much profanity or how much sexual deviance you can show or receive in a culture. Who has it better off there?
So some of you already know my answer to this, which is, there's a guy. He's a theorist. His name's Stuart Hall. And Stuart Hall has this theory that essentially says people have an inherent necessity within a society to differentiate themselves from other people. And the way that works is the people who are like us, the people who look like us, who behave like us, who dress like us, who do the things that we do, those are the good guys, the ones who are like us. And so we sort of believe them to be the pure and original people. We are the pure people. We are good and kind and smart and do the things that we're supposed to do. And anyone who is not like us clearly can't be one of us. Because if they were one of us, they would do the same stuff we do and look like us and whatever, but they're not. So clearly, we are the pure and original people, and they are the other. They're the capital O other. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys, you're the bad guys. And the closer you get to the pure and original people, the easier you have it within a society. So, who has it easy in our society? The closer you are to white, heterosexual, Christian, conventionally good-looking, rich, and so on and so forth. That's who's going to have it easiest within a society.